Hey everyone, it's Brandon from the Young Investors Podcast. Myself and Hamish are excited to bring you your weekly rundown of the latest business and investing news from around the world. A quick reminder before we get started that any advice provided by myself is general and does not consider your financial situation, needs, or objectives, so consider whether it's right for you. Brandon Kolk is authorised to provide general financial product advice in Australia and is authorised representative 1305795 of Guideway Financial Services Proprietary Limited, AFSL 420367. Please see the description box for my financial services guide. Past performance is not a reliable indicator of future investment returns, but with that said, let's get into another episode of the Young Investors Podcast.
All right, welcome back everybody to another episode of the Young Investors Podcast. As always, Brandon is slacking off. He's not in the country. He's in some random hotel room, as is the case these days, every 2 to 3 weeks. So
I have been away a lot. I feel like a businessman going away so much.
Oh yeah.
Hello, I'm back.
You got to get the hand. Get the hand.
Coming to you live from Singapore.
Yeah, what's going on in Singapore? What's
Nothing. Well, yeah, nothing. Tash just got me a little trip to Singapore for my 30th birthday. So, how cool's that?
Yeah. Wow. Easy then. So it's not a work trip. It's just a holiday.
Nah. Just a holiday.
Well, so you actually are slacking off.
I am. Well, no, come on. I'm still here. I'm still showing up.
That is true. Yeah.
That's good. Except we looked at the weather and apparently it's going to be raining every single day that we're here.
Oh, yeah. Gee.
But we're hoping it's like Indonesia style rain where it kind of just like buckets at some point during the day. But apart from that, it's like, okay.
You get like these dumps and then it's all right. Yeah.
Yeah. So fingers crossed like that. I mean, it's clear at the moment, but so far so good. We got in last night. But yeah, it's, I don't know. It looks pretty good so far. I have to report in next week after doing some exploring. Haven't really explored much.
Yeah. How long are you,
eating my tray of fruits?
Oh, wow.
That's nice.
Very, very
I don't know
healthy.
how to eat. I think there's a passion fruit. I don't really know how to eat it. You like cut it in half and then like scoop it?
And then get like a spoon and scoop it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Need to find a
passion fruit's
spoon.
Yum.
Do you like passion fruit?
I do. Yeah. We used to have a neighbor that had a massive passion fruit tree and it would hang over the fence. So
pluck them.
Yeah, they were quite good.
How you been going anyway?
I've been well. Yeah, I promise I'm going to post a video at some point in the near future.
Oh, when was your last one?
Let's not go there. No, it's been a little over 2. It'll be close to 3 weeks. Actually, no, it'll be close to
really?
a little over 3 weeks, I think, since I posted. But as we were talking just before, I've got a couple of videos coming. So.
Nice.
They will be.
You got 3 in the pipeline. You just need to actually finish one.
Yeah, just polish them off. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. No, that sounds good.
Yeah. So what have we got today? We've got some big updates around Trump and his tariffs, which I know we seem to have tariff stuff almost every week, but this is quite a big story. So we'll probably
this is the story.
The story, yeah, exactly. And so we'll spend quite a bit of time talking through the whole Liberation Day event that has happened this week. I'm going to talk through the RBA in Australia, the central bank in Australia's rate decision, which happened earlier this week, and I have a fraud story for us. I saw.
Zinger.
Yeah, I saw a comment. I think it was on either my channel or maybe it was the podcast YouTube channel, saying that someone was missing the fraud stories. So
nice.
I've found a fraud story that we'll jump into.
Yeah, it's never a dull moment never a moment for fraud to calm down in the world of the stock market. There's always something out there, isn't there?
Exactly. There's always someone doing something wrong that we can that we can comment on.
All right, should we do it?
Yeah, with that said, today's episode is brought to you by Seeking Alpha, your one-stop shop for stock analysis, market data, and news. Access expert analysis and news for thousands of stocks. View buy, hold, and sell ratings from members, Wall Street analysts, and Seeking Alpha's own algorithm. Screen for stocks using a variety of fundamental and technical analysis metrics. Access 10 years of financial data and company filings, and manage your portfolio by tracking your investments with price alerts so you never miss a buying opportunity again. Click the link in the episode description or head directly to seekingalpha.me/young investors to try Seeking Alpha free for 7 days. Let's start with Liberation Day, because this is obviously the big story of not just the week, but of course of the entire Trump administration, really.
Liberation Day has finally arrived, Hamish. Yeah. Trump chucked it out there. We've been so confused about what's going on with all these tariffs because he's been flip-flopping here and there. It hasn't been a consistent, I guess, message, steel and aluminium tariffs here. Oh, but China here. Oh, but Canada and Mexico for immigration there. It's all just all over the place. And then, he'll impose a tariff like what he did on Canada and Mexico, and they'll be like, oh, but that's all right. We'll pause it for a bit. And same with like the automotive tariffs that he put on. It's like, oh, they're definitely going ahead. Oh, but maybe not. We'll pause those as well. So yeah, we finally got a little bit more clarity about what Trump's this is like the big one, what his big trade policy is going to be. So I have gone ahead and chucked some stuff in. So stock futures fell. Firstly, the stock market was not happy with this plan. They fell steeply after Trump's announcement today. Futures tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 2.3%. S&P 500 futures dropped 3.4%. NASDAQ 100 futures lost 4.2%.
Yeah, that's massive.
No one was really particularly happy about it, but I guess that's probably to be expected.
It's kind of funny, though, that the markets are still being surprised, quote unquote, by tariff news from Trump. It just shows that like the market is still saying like, okay, like, we know it's going to be, we think there's going to be some negative impact. And so the markets go down a little bit, but then markets just seem to recover and just kind of forget about it all. And then he, announces and does what he says he was going to do. And the market's like, oh, what? Like,
yeah. Oh,
I can't believe it.
Reactionary. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just the futures. Shares of multinational companies tumbled in extended trading. Nike and Apple each dropped about 7%. Shares of big sellers of imported goods were among the hardest hit. Five Below lost 15%. Dollar Tree tumbled 11%. Gap plunged 8.5%. Tech shares dropped in an overall risk-off mood, with Nvidia off 4.5% and Tesla down 6%. So what actually happened? Well, Trump said on Wednesday he will apply a minimum 10% tariff on all exporters to the US and slap additional duties on around 60 nations with the largest trade imbalances with the US. That includes substantially higher rates on some of the country's biggest trading partners, such as China, which now faces a tariff of at least 54% on many goods. And it also includes steep tariffs on the European Union and Vietnam. Quote, For years, hardworking American citizens were forced to sit on the sidelines as other nations got rich and powerful, much of it at our expense. But now it's our turn to prosper, Trump said during an event in the White House Rose Garden. Look, don't think America was left behind in the whole getting rich part of events of the last 100 years or so. I think America was probably at the head of the pack in the whole getting rich side of things.
Yeah.
But,
I think they've done quite well on the economic leaderboard.
Yeah, I'd say they're probably number one on the economic leaderboard.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll give you a little bit more detail, Hamish. The higher reciprocal rates targeting nations the Trump administration labels the worst offenders are based on a government tally of the levies and non-tariff barriers those countries impose on US goods. So under Trump's plan, those countries facing higher customized rates will be hit with a levy which is equal to half of what they calculate. So, for example, and I've put this chart in the Google Doc, Hamish, if you're interested. For example, in their graph, they showed China charging a 67% tariff to the USA, including once you factor in currency manipulation and trade barriers. So for a 67% tariff, they slap on half of that, so 34% tariff goes on China. So with China, the 34% levy calculated as part of Trump's reciprocal plan stacks on top of an existing 20% duty tied to fentanyl trafficking, as well as tariffs on items such as solar panels that are already in place. That means many Chinese imports could face tariffs well above 50%. A tariff rate of 54% on goods from China could lead to a 90% decrease in exports to the US by 2030, based on previous estimates by Bloomberg Economics.
Wow.
So we can have a look down through the list. China's the big standout, 34% tariff. European Union 20%. Vietnam 46%. Taiwan 32%. Japan 24%, India 26%, South Korea 25%, Thailand 36%.
I saw.
There are some hefty numbers being chucked on. Hey, Hamish.
Yeah. I saw some pictures of Trump holding up the cards. He had these printed out as physical cards. I did think it was kind of funny. Not that this is relevant at all, but I saw some comments that pointed out, like, what's the order to this list? I know people listening can't see the list, but it's not in alphabetical. It's not in order.
No.
There's no
It's
like
not numerical.
It's not a numerical of either the tariffs are like imposed or the levies imposed on the US or the one that the US is going to impose. Like, what's the order to this?
It's just a random list. Yeah,
not that really.
It's a very good question. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a very interesting list. There are some big numbers being chucked around. So, it says here the baseline import taxes will take effect after midnight Saturday, and the higher duties will kick in 12:01 a.m. on April 9. A White House statement said Canada and Mexico already face 25% tariffs tied to drug trafficking and illegal migration. Those will remain in place, and the US's two largest trading partners will not be subject to the new tariff regime as long as the separate tariffs are in effect. Exemptions on goods covered by the USMCA North American Trade Agreement Trump brokered in his first term will stay. So interesting, Canada and Mexico not on the list, but they also are facing their own 25% tariffs.
Right.
The move marks a dramatic escalation of Trump's trade war, threatening to draw immediate retaliation from US trading partners. Makes good on months of promises from Trump, who has embraced tariffs as a tool for asserting US power, rebalancing trade relationships, reviving American manufacturing, and exacting geopolitical concessions. It's also a stark break from the decades-long effort following World War II to lower trade barriers as a way to foster commercial ties between nations and prevent armed conflicts. Mary Lovely, a senior fellow at the Peterson Institute for International Economics, said the tariffs Trump announced Wednesday are, quote, much worse than we feared. Just how they would be administered was unclear, she said, and there were, quote, huge implications for rerouting trade globally. And I guess that's what we've kind of spoken about in the past. I've made a video on this, is that, I don't know, I think the US got to be a little bit careful. I mean, obviously they're number one, everybody loves them, everyone, wants to trade with them. I mean, that's just obvious. But the more you kind of flex your muscles, do these kind of hard power tactics, whether it be an economic sanction or a tariff or whatever it is, just slowly but surely, especially if you apply it to a lot of countries, just slowly but surely makes people, it makes countries want to work around the US, I suppose. So I think they got to be careful. It's like I read something from researchers at Sydney Uni after the tariffs on steel and aluminium were announced. And they basically said, look, it kind of sucks for Australia because, I think like 20% of our steel products go to the US. I think 13% from memory of our aluminium products go to the US. But the researchers said, you don't have to worry because Australia can just redirect this. It will be absorbed in other markets. Like, we will be able to sell this stuff relatively easily elsewhere. So it's like, well, then the loser's kind of the US. or American citizens who are now paying more for their steel and aluminium-based products. We would like to keep selling to the US, but it wasn't particularly hard for us to, well, they're saying it's not going to be particularly hard for us to take all that stuff and just give it to someone else. So
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to say, what's going to happen and, how this kind of plays out over time. But certainly, it's just interesting to see he's doing exactly what he said he would do. And to me, it's just interesting to see the markets clearly haven't, priced in any, hardly any of this, I don't think. I
think it would have been hard for them to do so because there just wasn't enough information of like what was going to happen. And true. I mean, like this economist just before was saying this is much worse than what we thought. And so I guess it kind of makes sense if it was like worse than what they were expecting from limited information that the market goes down a bit. I don't know, but.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess these tariffs will be, some kind of, they'll send out ripples that will take quite a while for us to see what's actually going to happen. But this is pretty severe. Stepping up.
I just think it pushes trading partners away. I mean, the classic example is like Russia and China. So the US uses its hard power tactics to try and isolate those countries, right? Slapping big tariffs on China, imposing massive economic sanctions on Russia. And sure, it like annoys the heck out of them. But ultimately what it did was just give China the opportunity to buy Russian oil at a super steep discount in a currency that wasn't the US dollar. And it brought China and Russia closer together as trading partners. That was like the result. So it's like the US is like, we must punish these two great powers because we do not like them. And then the end result is that they end up getting closer as trading partners. China gets cheap oil and Russia finds a new trading partner to send them some cash for their war effort. It's like, I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic. I don't know how well it works in the long term. Like maybe it's a short-term tactic. I just don't see how it's a benefit in the long term for America, personally. That's my opinion. I'm not sure. I'm not an economist. But.
Yeah, no, I probably agree with you. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, how did he do it? That's a question because Trump can't just slap tariffs on willy-nilly. It's not in. I mean, the president does have some powers to do some tariff shenanigans, but has to fall under a few key categories. And he's once again made it a national emergency. He's taken the easy way out. So Trump declared a national emergency tied to the US trade deficit. I know. Which stood at more than $918 billion for goods and services in 2024, allowing him to use unilateral authority under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to impose the most sweeping set of tariffs in generations. The administration is aiming to collect hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue from the levies to fill government coffers ahead of its push to cut taxes for Americans.
There's no way that
yeah, I know.
that is the weakest state of emergency or national emergency
sirens. Like, national emergency, take cover.
The emergency is they're in a deficit. They've been in a deficit for like 30 years.
Yeah, the trade deficit.
Doesn't like how's that an emergency? That's just a normal state of United States economic policy. That's not an emergency. That's just how things have been done.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. But
I don't know. Some of these executive orders are absolutely insane. I don't know. I know some of them have court proceedings kind of going on to validate them. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how that process works or how long it takes or anything like that. But yeah, like a lot of these are absolutely ridiculous. And just from a spirit of the law perspective, you can tell that this is not how the executive branch is supposed to act. It's just not. Like that's not the point. The point is you elect people into a parliament. Well, it's Congress in the US. And those people vote on legislation. It's not one dictator who gets to just enforce the law. That power is only supposed to be for specific things, for emergencies. And
but it is an emergency, Hamish. Weren't you listening?
Yeah, you're right. It is an emergency.
I get you. does seem a bit strange. He's definitely pushed it as far as he possibly can.
But I don't know how that even works, going through like who challenges that in the courts and how long it takes for that to be reversed if that's the case. I don't know. But it seems insane.
Interestingly, out of all the international leaders of the world that Bloomberg could have gotten comment from, they decided to quote the Australian Prime Minister.
Oh,
Albo. So Albo had a say. He said, the administration's tariffs have no basis in logic and they go against the basis of our two nations partnership. This is not the act of a friend. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said during a press conference following the announcement, though, he added, they would not respond with countermeasures, which is, I don't know, when you're dealing with someone like Trump, I feel like that's probably smart, just to not stoke the, because I mean...
we lose that, so...
Yeah, we lose. We lose versus the US, so yeah, probably smart, especially with the type of character that Trump is. I feel like if the first person to speak out is going to be made an example of. Yeah,
exactly. Drag him out to the courtyard.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. I saw they didn't he ban Australian beef or something? I think I saw a headline or something
I'm not
like
sure.
that. Yeah.
I mean, quite possibly. I'm not sure, to be honest. But
like specifically Australian beef. Like, okay, fair enough. Guess it's probably a big
Angus
export
patties
for us.
anymore. Oh, delicious.
Guess not. Damn.
Yeah, guess not. Yeah. Oh, more for us.
More for us.
Happy with that.
Exactly. More supply for us. That means it'll get cheaper, right?
Yeah. Surely. Well, you'd hope so. All right, what else have I got? I think that's pretty much it so far. Trump's move could also intensify the US-China rivalry. Yep, global and Chinese firms had been shifting production to Vietnam, Cambodia, and other countries in Asia from China to avoid the effects of tariffs from the previous trade fight during Trump's first term. But those nations have now also been hit with tariffs almost as high as the ones in China, undermining future diversification efforts. We spoke about this as well previously, that Trump's first term tariffs on China did not bring manufacturing back to the US. It just brought manufacturing to the next cheapest country to work with, which was like Vietnam, India, can't remember some other ones as well. So this is a more interesting, I guess, bring it back to America by imposing not just tariffs on China, but also tariffs on all these other low-cost countries. So we'll see if that has any effect.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I don't know. I don't really have any. I don't really have any great insights. I think on this, just that it's obviously quite unfavorable from an economic theory perspective, but we don't really know how it's going to play out because it's we're talking about the actions and reactions of a bunch of different countries now. And so it's just,
are you telling me you haven't already modeled out the flow-on effects to all countries worldwide?
Well, the simulations are still running on my quantum computer in the other room, so I'll let you know when that finishes.
Yeah, sure.
And
then sounds good. Well, here's a kind of interesting stat for you, maybe to finish things off. I was very surprised to read this. Trump's plan, apparently, is also narrower than some of the other options his team considered, including a 20% full global tariff. The president and his aides deliberated back and forth about which plan to enact until just hours before he announced the tariffs. So, and I think, I don't have the quote right here, but he said something like, I wonder if I can find it. It was like, this is the kind version of tariffs or something like that. He said, this is not full reciprocal. This is kind reciprocal.
Oh, okay, so, Why does that not surprise me at all that they weren't decided on which plan hours before the announcement? I could totally imagine all the cameras set up in the Oval Office and he just rolls a dice. Number 4. Him in Vance just in the corner.
It says rock. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Oh, best of 3. It's so funny. It's like April 2nd, we'll be announcing our grand plan, very masterful plan. We've been working on this plan a long time. Here comes the plan, April 2nd.
Yeah.
What's the plan again?
Spin the wheel. Military war with China, like 20% tariff.
Past. Press the nuclear button.
Yeah.
All the options.
Nuclear warfare.
50%, 40%, 30% tariff, 20% tariff. Ah, boo. Anyway, there you go. That's the great tariff plan, Hamish.
The great tariff plan.
Liberation Day. America has been liberated. Is that what it means? I don't know.
They've been liberated. Yep. It's happened. It's finally happened.
Do you feel liberatized? Liberationized?
Yeah. Yep. Very much so.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, then it's had its effect.
Yep. There we go. All right. Let's
moving on.
let's get back to some fraud stories.
Yes.
Because we
Hamish's fraud story of the week.
We haven't done one of these in a while, and so I thought I'd bring it back. As I said, I saw a comment on the YouTube version of the podcast saying to bring it back. So we've brought it back. And so we actually had a story that kind of reached a pinnacle this week. So I thought I would take a look at it. So this story, which I will say I got from the Wall Street Journal, is about 32-year-old Charlie Javis. How do you reckon I pronounce that last name?
I don't know. I just go with Javis. Yeah.
32-year-old Charlie Javis.
Javis.
Yeah. Oh, true. Could be as well. Let's go with Charlie. Charlie had her day.
That's an easier one.
Charlie had her day in court this week. And this is not a founder that I had really heard of before. So I'll give a bit of a background on what business she created and how it ended. We'll get to how it ended. But so Charlie Javis started a business venture in 2017, and the business she started essentially was kind of like a tax assistant style tool to help people to apply for financial aid, help students apply for financial aid. So software company, pretty kind of a straightforward business. It wasn't called Frank originally, but the business was a year or so later renamed to Frank. So she's built this with some software engineers, hired some software engineers. She's built this business to help students get financial aid called Frank. And the business was a pretty significant success. She was able to attract quite a fair number of users to the platform. She also got pretty considerable investment from some pretty big names. So between 2017 and 2020, she secured backing from Israeli venture capitalist Michael Eisenberg, and Apollo Management CEO Mark Rowan, who combined, the Wall Street Journal said, invested millions of dollars into the company. So there wasn't a specific number given, but it received, a considerable amount of investment from some, notable people in the venture capital space. This, it wasn't an enormous business, but this, she built a very successful business. She had multiple appearances, or regular appearances, I should say, on CNBC and other finance networks like Bloomberg. So she, was quite considerably in the media. She made it onto the Forbes 30 under 30 list, which
another one.
Yeah, as I said, yeah. It wouldn't be a real fraud story unless they weren't first praised by Forbes. Like they need the Forbes fraud tick of approval first, and then they come out and they've lied to the world. They don't have a great track record, Forbes, with particularly with like the front covers and stuff. Like they had Sam Bankman-Fried had a front cover, right, and like Elizabeth Holmes,
yeah.
Which
there's some stat where like quite a high percentage of them end up like in some sort of fraud or legal trouble. I can't remember. I got to tread lightly though, because Tash was recognized as like in the Australian Forbes 30 under 30.
Oh,
so I remember when she first like got the nod and like called me up. I think I said the wrong thing because I was like, do you know about the reputation of the 30 under 30? Anyway, it didn't go so well. But yeah.
Yeah. She's on next week. She's on next week's story, so yeah.
She's on next week's fraud story. A popular Australian Instagrammer.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, but no, I mean, it probably shouldn't be surprising that Forbes has a high hit list because obviously a lot of these like frauds are doing massive media. They're getting a lot of media attention for their, very successful businesses. So it kind of makes sense that, people like Sam Bankman-Fried would get the attention of Forbes, but it just does show that like Forbes isn't exactly doing like their DD on on some of these people. But yeah, so she had regular media appearances promoting her business, and then eventually in 2021 she tried to sell her business. So she decided it was time to sell the business. She teamed up with investment bank Lion Tree to do the deal. And as a part of pitching the deal to a bunch of businesses, Charlie Javis claimed that Frank had 4 million users, or about 4 million users.
Okay.
So it wasn't a particularly big, software company, but also not small. 4 million users is, that's a pretty significant base for something like financial aid. For students, it's not like
definitely.
It's not like we're talking about like Snapchat or something, right? Like this is like a pretty niche-ish. Not super niche, but niche-ish.
I mean, it's niche-ish, but also 4 million. That's quite a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. It is quite a lot. So yeah, she was very successful. Very successful. So several very successful. Okay. So several financial firms explored buying the company, including Capital One, Discover, and Citizens Bank. But eventually it was JP Morgan that went all the way and bought it for, drum roll, $175 million. They paid for
Jesus.
this business, which is it's a big price tag. But again, they got 4 million users, so they got 4 million users. They could probably get a lot of money out of that. Like, what's that per? That's like $50 per user. So like they can make a lot of money out of this software company.
Okay, my question is when so this is a private company, right? This Frank thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, surely JP Morgan gets like a full set of financials to base their decision off of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I guess that maybe that's where the fraud is coming into it.
Maybe, right? So
because you must be making a shitload of money for them to be paying 175 million for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Charlie would have, given over all the accounts, given all the data sets for all the users and everything. And everything looked all good. So JP Morgan bought this business for $175 million. And then I write this kind of as a joke, but JP Morgan, himself, he opened up the back end. He logged in. He logged in and he, went to look at his 4 million users, and there was only 300,000. Which I say as a joke because you're right. Like, it's not as though she just lied about there being 4 million users and then there was 300,000. She obviously created a fake, data set of customers, which was kind of later discovered by the firm. But
you just imagine someone like Hanny, like Jamie Dimon's like, oh, what's that? Yeah, I'll have a look. Jamie Dimon's like looking. 300,000. Did I say 4 million? It's boom. The moment when Jamie just sees that there's only 300,000 users, he would have been fuming.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. I'll go into a couple of the details of the trial, but one of the ways that JP Morgan kind of became aware that there might have been something dodgy with the amount of users that they had was they tried to do a marketing campaign, and they sent out an email blast to their 4 million user base, and only 28% of the emails were actually even delivered. And so that's just delivered, let alone, opened and being, active customers and that sort of thing. But
that's a zinger.
The vast majority of the emails weren't even real.
That's
email addresses.
Crazy.
So anyway, so in 2023, she was arrested on charges of defrauding JP Morgan, and the case went to trial. As a lot of these fraud kind of cases do, because you not only have to prove that it was that the numbers were that they lied, but you have to prove that it was like there was an intent to deceive, which can be quite difficult to prove in any kind of case. And so a lot of these go to trial with the hope that you come out on top. But there was a few pieces of evidence that made it quite unlikely, I think, that she was going to win this trial. The jury heard evidence that Javis created a fake data set to trick JP Morgan about the number of users it had. She first tried to get her head of engineering to make it, but he, at the trial, testified against her that he refused to do it.
Good work, dude.
So yeah, she tried to get one of her employees to do it, and they said no, which I thought was quite funny. But she persisted anyway. She went on and she paid a mathematics professor $18,000 to create a synthetic data file of 4 million people.
Wow.
So yeah, she basically made like a fake list. And so there was two. Sorry, go on.
Oh, sorry.
All I was going to say was, there was at least two people who could independently verify that she had attempted to commit this specific fraud of faking the users. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's not very smart, not very well planned out, is it? This fraud.
No.
Yeah. The thing that just gets me is, how do these people think that they're going to get away with it? Because I mean, surely if you go to the mathematics professor, right, and you're like, hey, we need to fudge the numbers here. I need you to make a data set that looks like we've got, 4 million people. I'm going to give you 18 grand if you do it. And they're like, oh yeah, that's really good, because then we can sell it to JP Morgan. They might pay over $100 million. Okay, sure, that all happens. But then JP Morgan has bought the company. That they are the company now. So, of course, they're going to be like, hang on, there's not 4 million users here. The company doesn't make any money. Like, this is fraud. Like, this is obviously fraud. You said there were 4 million. We can see there's 300,000. Like, I don't understand how they think they're going to get away with it. Like, it makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know either. Like, I would like to know, like, what was, like, the order of things that happened. From what I was reading, it seems like she made a number of, like, claims when she was pitching, and then later kind of tried to build the data set to kind of back up what she said. So she would have been, in meetings with JP Morgan and saying, I have this many users. But you're right. Like, you're still... How do you think you're going to get away with that? But it would be interesting. Like, did she put that in the slide deck, or like, did she just blurt that out? Like, she was like, yeah, we have 300,000 users, and they were like, oh, we don't take, we don't take companies under 4 million. And she's like, wait, did I say 300,000? I actually meant 4 million.
I did mean 4 million.
Like, did she just improv that? And then she gets out of the meeting and she's like, crap, now I'm going to build the...
Oh, that's great. That's so funny. Yeah, I don't know. It just blows my mind. It blows my mind.
Yeah.
That people think they can get away with this stuff, especially when you know that if a company buys you out, you are handing over everything you have to that company for them to now run, for them to look at.
Yeah.
I just don't
Pretty
understand.
crazy. And yeah, it's not a small tinkering of the numbers. It's not like she had 3.8 million users and she was pitching them at 4 million and they're annoyed that she kind of fudged the numbers a bit. Like this is like a 10x difference in user base for a $200 million deal. Which if you're just scaling it by the number of users, you're talking about her defrauding them for more than $150 million. So so it's pretty significant. And so this week she was found guilty, and she and along with one of her co-executives, Olivera Amar, were found guilty of 3 counts of fraud and 1 count of conspiracy to commit fraud. She faces a maximum sentence of 16 years in prison. So
that's the other thing. Is not only are you giving them false information that's going to come and bite you in the ass, you're also basically putting your hand up and saying, I'm going to go to prison as well.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what she gets because obviously the maximum people who do commit fraud don't really get anywhere near the maximum sentence usually. Sam Bankman-Fried, multi-billion-dollar fraud, faced more than 100 years, I think, maximum, and he ended up getting 28-ish or something like that, 24, 28, something like that years, I think. Elizabeth Holmes got, I think, 9 years in the end after a couple of appeals, or maybe it was 11 years.
Right.
And her maximum sentence was more than 50 years. So,
I was thinking the other day about Sam Bankman-Fried is thank goodness he got found out when he did. Because it was crypto crashing that made him get found out. But if he just somehow survived for like another few months when crypto came back up again, nobody probably would have ever found out.
No, exactly. And it could have...
In fact, we'd probably be applauding him now. Everyone would probably still think he's this crypto genius now because crypto's gone up so much that his like massively levered bets would probably be paying off. Yeah.
And you can't really imagine... I could not imagine a world where it didn't just get worse. If he did get through that, he would have just levered up even more and taken even more riskier bet. Like, because the entire history of Alameda and FTX was him just going heavier and heavier into these riskier and riskier investments. And so you can't imagine that would have just stopped.
True.
And so it probably would have come out eventually again, but it would have been maybe significantly worse. Who knows?
As these people, they don't know when enough's enough. That's the same thing. Like the thing that gets most people on insider trading is that they just keep going back for more. Like in a lot of insider trading cases, if they'd just done their little con and called it a day, they would have gotten away with it.
Yeah,
but
it was like
the fact that they go bigger and bigger. That's the reason they get found out.
Yeah, it's like that. Was it BHB or it was like that oil company where we covered it, the Pillow Talk fraud, where the husband heard the wife was the executive on BHB or something, and the husband overheard her talking about some deal, and then he put like $4 million, which was like most of their net worth or something, into the trade. Like it's like if you just put like 50K or something, no one would ever know. The same thing
happened. There were some Australians that got done for insider trading on ABS data, Australian Bureau of Statistics data. I think on like inflation data, they were kind of front running the numbers, and they did it at a small scale. And if they just stopped after making their small insider win, then no one would have ever come after them. But they just kept going back and kept doing it bigger and bigger, and that's when it started catching the eye, and then they got done. So.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so interesting. These people, they just don't think it through. Gosh.
No.
Unlike me and you, we think it through very thoroughly. Yeah.
Yeah, we're very careful with our fraud.
We're very, very careful. No one's going to find out what we're up to.
No one will ever know. No, but yeah, this was this was quite a ridiculous story because it is quite I mean every story is ridiculous of these fraud stories because why do they think they're going to get away with it? is always the big question. And I do have another fraud story that I'm not going to talk about today, but I've got another one in the bank. So we'll cover that next week or maybe the week after. So
I think the thing that blows my mind about fraud overall is that these people haven't figured out that it's actually easier to make money honestly. It's actually easier to make money honestly than to make money dishonestly. To make money dishonestly is really, really difficult.
Yeah.
Because there are people watching. There are people watching for it. To make money honestly, no one's watching. Like, it's like, because there's no need to. You just go to work, you build a business, you make a product or service that people like, or, genius.
Yeah.
So dumb.
It's too simple.
All right. Tell me about what's going on with the RBA.
Oh yeah. So this is just, we won't spend too much time.
I'll round it out.
Talking about this, but the Reserve Bank of Australia, of course, had their interest rate decision this week, and they shocked the world and decided to leave the official cash rate the exact same. So the cash rate target has remained at 4.1%, and the interest rate paid on exchange settlement balances stayed at 4%. So no changes to interest rates as of yet in Australia, which is everyone's kind of been expecting interest rate declines for some time, but the current level seems to be what the central bank thinks is appropriate. In terms of commentary that the governor of the RBA provided, they said that underlying inflation continues to ease. The board noted that monetary policy is well placed to respond to international developments if they were to have material implications for Australian activity and inflation, which is a whole lot of words to say that the board is ready to react if the tariffs from the US have any kind of negative impact. In regards to the economy, they essentially described it as the outlook remaining uncertain. So there's some positive, some negative factors that they're seeing. The positives are that private domestic demand appears to be recovering, real household incomes have picked up, and there's an easing in some measures of financial stress. So that's the good news. The bad news is businesses in some sectors continue to report weakness in demand, which has been making it difficult to pass on cost increases to final prices. In the labour markets, a range of indicators suggest that labour market conditions remain tight. There was a decline of employment in February, but availability of labour is still a constraint for a range of employers. So they still see the labour market being pretty strong.
I feel like I actually did not know what Australian inflation was at. It's at 2.4% currently. I thought it was higher than that, but it's at 2.4%. So I probably would, to be honest, expect them to cut rates at some point in the future. Interestingly, Hamish, our Reserve Bank, our central bank, the Reserve Bank, I always remember them saying that our inflation target is never mind. They've said that their inflation target is 2 to 3%. It's America that says that the inflation target is 2%. That's right. Never mind. I was going to say, this is interesting. They're now showing that their target range is 2 to 3%, but no, that's always been the way it has been. Anyway. Never mind. Just me waffling.
The rate is 2.4%. It's obviously it's like right in the middle of the range, so it's right there. I guess the question really is like, when inflation gets into the range, does that mean you just start cutting, or does it mean you like maybe we're at a good level of interest rates? Given that's a good point. But I guess it depends on which way it's trending. I mean, obviously, if inflation continues to fall at the current level of interest rates, then you would want to cut to stop it from falling outside of the range on the other end.
And what did you just say about labour market, employment, and whatnot?
Well, the labour market is still strong and still tight. Right. So,
there's no real need to cut rates. They might just be having that as kind of ammunition for a rainy day.
Yeah, there doesn't really seem to be anything that's too negative in either direction. We don't have really high inflation anymore, but we also don't have a deteriorating economy. The labor market is strong, and the economy is growing, but it's growing slowly, but it's still growing. So it's just kind of one of these like middle kind of moments where we'll just wait to see which way things go, whether it's economic weakness and we'll see rate cuts, or whether it's inflation and we'll see rate hikes. And both of those honestly could be on the table given given the economic uncertainty with tariffs and that sort of thing. So that's
well, there we go.
That's it.
That's it, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to bounce out and go explore Singapore. Maybe go get a little cocktail at the top of the surfboard hotel.
Yeah, that hotel is really cool.
It actually is really cool. I was looking at it last night. We got a really good view of it from the top of our hotel. It makes actually a lot of sense, like to have three mini towers, right? And then you have this big, wide area at the top. It's like maximized the best real estate, if that makes sense. Like economically, like the real elevated, I assume there's lots of bars and like restaurants and stuff up there. But it's kind of cool because, you just get heaps and heaps of top floor real estate, which is obviously what everybody wants because it's up so high and it's got the nice views.
Yeah, it's actually a good point.
Never really thought about that. So, put a giant surfboard on the top of your skyscrapers that are next to one another, everybody. Yeah. Take a page out of Singapore's book. Anyway, I have to report back next week on how I find it.
Yep.
But, Hamish, enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you.
Enjoy your weekend. And thanks very much, everybody, for tuning in and listening. We'll be back to business as usual next week, I would imagine.
Yep.
Until then, we'll see you guys next time.
See you guys.
Mm-hmm.